Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live Noding. In this episode, I'm going to show you a little compositing trick that you can do in Blender. Basically, I learned this from a Twitter artist named Nakasora, and he made it so that when you are doing the compositing, you can actually look kind of like look at the previous image and then kind of processing the next image and then kind of compositing those two together. And it's kind of a little bit difficult concept to explain with that example, but that's gonna be the second one. But I'm gonna give you a simpler example before I do the what he did. So let's start with something like this. And currently I have this set up. Basically, if I turn the switch on, it's gonna be doing the normal compositing from the original scene. And the original scene, I actually only have this donut that's kind of animating, and also it's changing color. Just very simple. And I get rid of the sky background and turn it into transparency. So that's important. And so if we just did a render, we're gonna have like a, just like a donut traveling around the scene, and the whole thing is 100 frames. And let's take a look at the result very quickly. So there you go. That's just like a donut ring traveling and changing color. So 100 frames, and that's what we got. And we also have this the second one. I call it blah with the number behind it. So that's kind of important. So now calculation is finished, and I'll show you what's gonna happen next. So actually, I'll explain what's the setup at the moment. Basically, the original goes into this switch. So the one that's being rendered is the original scene, and this goes out into this guy, file output. The file output is actually very interesting. You can kind of create like a multiple output with different names. So you can change the name here and add more input if you like. We don't need that for now. How to get rid of this? There you go. So yeah, it's gonna output the blah, and this image output here is the one that's I'm gonna use on the next process. I turn off the switch. Now we are not gonna be calculating this guy anymore. We're gonna be calculating this guy at the back. And here you'll see this is where the magic will happen. We have this image sequence being loaded, basically the blah with the number behind it, sequence of blah, a total of 100 frames, 100 frames. Start frame, this one start with frame 1, while this one start with frame 2. So this is gonna be the current image being processed, and this is gonna be the previous image. And it's a little bit tricky to understand, but anyhow, if I just render it now, okay, I think it should be doing the second processing, and currently we're not getting the result that I want. Let me quickly check. Okay, the blah, that's the one that I should be seeing, which is actually, if we look at the viewer nodes, there you go, that's the one we should be seeing. So what's going on here? Suddenly we have this kind of animations, almost like if you know dynamic paint in Blender, it's kind of similar kind of effects, but we are seeing it inside the compositor. So this is very interesting, right? This is happening because we are using the recursive compositing. So it's almost like we start with a single layer of this donut, and then we add a blur for that donut. So we're gonna plus blur. So this is gonna be one process, and then on top of this, we're gonna add another donut, and then we're gonna process all of them, and then we're gonna blur it again. So the first donut, this guy will get 2 blur, this one get 1 blur, and then on top of that, we're gonna get another donut. So it's a recursive sort of, and it's because it's like feeding itself with after it gone through the process, it's gonna feeding itself back into the process. So I think that's really happening. It's very kind of very simple, but also hard to, until you get around it. It's hard to understand this. So in the end, we actually have the original right here. Blender always, even though we don't have the composite nodes, Blender seems to be rendering out the original anyway. So it's called just the 001, just call the number. And then we have this one, the blur, and then I'm gonna open it with a QuickTime and look at the sequence. Actually, I think if we use the Blender play rendered animations, we can see the result as well. Not sure if it's working. Okay, that's the composite result, right? But we're gonna look at the one that's being blurred. So go to temp, select this one, blur, open. 12 frames per second or 24, that's okay. Play back, and we can see that's the result we get. And this effect is because of the recursive. And this seems very simple, very basic, but what you can do with this is very interesting. So if we, let's say, instead of blurring, we just gonna leave it like without the blur, then what's gonna happen is like you're gonna get like a trail. I have not tried other blur bokeh or maybe pixelated effect. If we can, I have not tried this, but maybe I should try it now. If I try it now, we're gonna get the pixelated effect, but since we already processed the original, we need to kind of re-render it again. So I'm gonna switch back to the original, render the whole thing again, just the clean one, so we get the original as this blur. See, the blur is now back to normal, and let's wait until it hits 100. For the next run, we're gonna do this pixelate. Well, the pixelate doesn't have any options, but I'm curious to see the result on that. So let's switch this to image, and then viewer node, and turn off this switch. Let's see if we can get some kind of pixelate effect. Well, see with the blur, where's the blur? Distort. Filter bokeh. Okay, with the blur, we can see the effects right there. Pixelate didn't seem to be doing anything. Maybe filter. not doing anything. This speckle. Glare maybe is interesting one. So let's try this very quickly. Streak, mix. So that's threshold. Okay, this one maybe is interesting, and let's try now processing the whole thing again. So you can see there's these effects. It's supposed to be coming from the glare, but it's becoming this kind of like a trail, and then suddenly you get the glare over there. Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe I should put the glare at the bottom instead of at the top. But anyhow, we can see it's kind of like a recursively processing what's underneath the original. So you get these effects happening. But I think, yeah, this is very important. I'll give you the node tree and the blend so you can study it. But anyhow, on the next live noding, we're gonna try to do the same thing, but we're gonna displace the objects at the bottom. This recursive effects you can actually use to do like a reaction diffusions kind of algorithm as well, which is really strange that you're able to do this, but it's possible using compositing and kind of feeding image into itself after the processing. So yeah, let's see how we do this. We do this in the next live noding, but this is pretty much it for now. Hopefully it is useful for you. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.